Oh, they've done it! Steven Gerrard, an instant hero! Can you believe this? Plenty attacking! No! The comeback is complete! A stunning second half from Schalke!
Blau und weiß sein Leben lang. Hallo meine Leute. Willkommen to SchalkeMerica. Let's keep it short. Episode 149. Lots have gone on the last week. I'm your host, Richard Carmen. Joining me as always, co-host Jack Mangan. How we doing, Jack?
Fantastic command of the German language, as always, sir. Although I can't talk because I have no command whatsoever. Yeah, man. Wow. Kind of a big weekend in a lot of different ways. First, just real quickly, obviously the elephant in the room. There's the whole Russia-Ukraine situation. It's far beyond the scope of this podcast to discuss. We are but a humble soccer podcast. Obviously, I think we both hope everyone stays as safe as possible, whatever that means throughout this. But as far as the implications to this podcast, we do have a story on the back of it that we need to talk about. And that's that kind of our longtime sponsor, Gazprom. What is that? Almost 15 years. Probably they've been the main kit sponsor in a row. We cut ties with them as a result. Obviously, Gazprom, a big Russian gas company with ties to the state. We had a member of our supervisory board, just Warnick as well, depart because he was kind of on the supervisory board as sort of a representative of Gazprom. So Schalke taking those steps to cut ties, I think, probably the right thing to do, obviously, but a huge financial hit because Gazprom was contributing quite a bit of money to us. They had stuck with us through relegation, and it's still given us a pretty favorable contract, despite that, which was very important to us with the financial situation we've had. So to lose them as a sponsor is massive. Sounds like the club is optimistic that they'll be able to replace it fairly soon. Hopefully that's true and not just something that they're saying to kind of allay the concerns of the fans. But definitely a big financial hit. How do you feel about the decision to do that? And then obviously just kind of where we sit financially as a result.
Well, I'm happy that it's happened, right? It started off Saturday where Schalke said they were not going to wear the Gazprom on their shirts. They put the Schalke No Fear on their jerseys. And so that was the first step. Everyone applauded that. And then Manchester United, who is also linked with Gazprom, said, we're dropping them all together. And the pressure started growing for Schalke. It's like, okay, taking them off your jersey is one thing, but you need to drop the sponsors. Vatska from Dortmund and head of the DFB kind of came out and said, look, we support you 100%. If you drop Gazprom, all of German football is going to help you financially if it needs be. We'll make sure we take care of you, do the right thing. And Schalke finally did. They came out and they dropped them, right? They mentioned on their website, they mentioned the end of the contract, big financial loss, like you mentioned. It sounds like there are a lot of suitors right now, or I don't know, a lot. There's some suitors out there that to replace it, and it's one, it would look good for them. It look, good looks for Schalke. Some rumors out there like Viva West and some other these sponsors, but nothing official has come from Schalke so far. But I love the move. It was needed to do. I mean, it's like the first step was the jersey. That was right. But as United did, we need to drop the sponsor, which we did, and it is going to affect us financially, especially if we don't somehow get promoted. Finding a sponsor is going to be key, and I think we'll be okay. I believe what the supervisory board said, that they think that they can find someone to replace them. Sounds like the rumors are that we can find somebody, and even if we don't, all the Bundesliga clubs say we have to support the third biggest team in Germany. We have to do what we can to make sure that they're at least come out even on this in terms of finance until they can find someone. So I'm comfortable with the decision, and I think financially, we'll be okay. It'll be even better if we get promoted because the chances of finding a big sponsor and long term is going to be better. But I'm okay with the decision. Now the product on the football field has got to match that.
I hate looking at things this cynically, and I feel slimy for talking about it in this way. But I mean, there is probably an additional incentive to invest in Schalke as far as sponsorship goes right now, because if you're the person that comes in and steps up to the plate to replace a Gazprom and help a Schalke out, it's going to be, an even better look, from like a, kind of public relations standpoint for you than it would be if you were becoming a kit sponsor for somebody in a total vacuum. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, hopefully we're able to work something out, and but some things you just have to do. They got to be done because it's the right thing to do them. So I just said took a little bit of pressure, but ultimately kind of think we probably arrived at the right place.
Yeah, and Gazprom's always been a controversial topic. It's been for many years. We've seen it because they're also big sponsors of the Champions League as well, and so you've always seen the protesters here and there, whether at Schalke or in the Champions League, protesting their anger towards Gazprom and Russia in general. So this is the final tipping point. This has had to be done, and I'm glad it was done fairly quickly too, all within like a week. As things have escalated out east. Trying to figure where we are on a map. I'm glad it's been done, and we can move forward from that. What I don't like are some of the excuses that the head coach just mentioned after the game. One of the many excuses he made was saying that the covering of the Gazprom was unfamiliar with the team and it weighed them down to play poorly. I'm like, get the hell out of here. But that aside, we did have a game to play on Saturday.
It's like some additional chafing or something happening. Like, what's he even talking about? Like,
who the hell knows?
I didn't see that he made that comment, but that's
yeah. Andreas Ernst and some other people were tweeting it out that he was making all these excuses after the game. But one of them was that it felt extra weight. It was chafing, or I don't know what the hell was going on with the covering of the Gazprom. We weren't used to that. Anyway, we did have a game to play. It was an important game. We talked about going into this 5-game stretch that all teams bottom of the table or bottom half of the table, all teams that we should win, and if we can win these 5 games in a row, probably put us in a nice position heading down the gauntlet stretch of the last 6 games where we're playing all the teams above us, vying for that promotion spots or the promotion spots. The game did not go as we expected, but the interesting thing was, I think, we'll start with the lineups first before we get to it. Well, obviously, we drew the game, but starting lineup exactly similar to the week before. Itakura, Sane, Kaminsky ahead in front of Frazel, Cherlinov, Flick, Owayan, Idrizi, Mikhailov back in this one, and Taroda and Bulter. Thoughts on the lineup, and also on top of Mikhailov starting, the big note of no Lee. Well, here's the big news coming to the game. Lee Dong-jong was not into the lineup at all whatsoever. Malik Tiao was, even though he was suspended. But apparently Lee Dong-jong picked up an injury, and he's out with a fractured foot for several weeks now. But thoughts on the lineup when you saw this?
Well, I guess all you can really say is that fortunately he hadn't really cemented himself into the starting lineup, so that now we immediately feel a loss. He hadn't really even gotten going yet, so obviously it's terrible that he's had the setback. He's on a lone move trying to make something happen. We bring somebody in trying to make something happen. It's not working out for either party at the moment. And hopefully he recovers quickly. But the interesting thing is just seeing the repeat of that young central midfield pairing for me of Idrizi and Mikhailov. And listen, like, I liked it last week. I thought it was an interesting look and not something that I would have been, opposed to seeing repeated. But the interesting thing for me, I guess, is that the fact that you see it immediately again, like twice in a row, kind of sends the message to me that, like, Gramatsis is kind of grasping for whatever sticks at the moment. In the sense that, like, he said, oh, there you go. That kind of worked. That looked good. I'll do that again. It wasn't that he had been doing that, knowing that it was going to be a one-off, but knowing that he was going to revert. He was literally doing it maybe the first time just to see what would happen, right, and then goes right back. So that's how I interpreted it. And that kind of makes me feel even sketchier about things. How did you view that sort of repeat central pairing?
I did too. I thought when they first did it, I thought it was a good move. I'm sure the other team wasn't expecting it. You get the young legs going in there and trying to rejuvenate, get some, wake them up after the bad performance against Dusseldorf. And it worked. You got the veterans coming in on the back end, but then do it 2 weeks in a row. I agree with you. I felt the exact same way. And I also, the other elephant in the room, Mikhailov was he Russian, right? He's part of Zenit St. Petersburg. How would he be mentally, right? he's a professional footballer, yes, but he's young. He's 18, 19 years old. Is this too much for him? We've seen some of the veteran players, Ukrainian, that they're struggling with this. And so you got a young 19-year-old, maybe he's naive enough, but you got to imagine Gramozzi's talked to him because he talked about we're going to be open with Mikhailov and making sure that he understands that we know where he's coming from and we got to make sure he's okay. But I thought having him start, considering the situation globally, maybe he wasn't ready for a 19-year-old. A little too much for a 19-year-old. So I was shocked also by that. So, but yeah, I agree. The grasping at straws, really, like, oh yeah, it worked. Let's try it again. Didn't work again. But yeah, when I saw the lineup, I was a little confused. And the other confusing part was Malik Thiaw suspended because of yellow card accumulations, and then all of a sudden he's in the bench. And I'm like, how's that possible? I know he didn't play, but how's that legal? I'm like, I can see Schalke getting fined for something stupid like that. That's just me. I don't know.
That's a good point. I hadn't considered that previously, but yeah, you're right. He had just picked up what I thought was a suspension due to yellow card accumulation. So that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's a tough situation for Ukrainian and Russian players in various sports and various leagues right now. Obviously, particularly the Russian ones to some extent, just because there's a lot of probably negative feelings by association there. But I mean, this is what I'm saying though, is that, you have a guy like Rodrigo Salazar, who's like been one of the main players for most of the season. And, it's not surprising to not see Drexler in there, because despite being involved pretty early on, he hasn't been a thing in quite a while. But yeah, I'm just surprised that we didn't see like Salazar get a start, and we saw, Mikhailov again for a number of reasons. But, both of Tirada up top, Ovejan Cherlanov, that's going to be your ideal pairing given the injury situation and the availability. And as we've said repeatedly, any combination of the back three is not going to raise an eyebrow from us.
Exactly. I don't think this is one of Sane's strongest games, but I was happy to see him in there. Obviously, he's our best defender, basically. And happy to see Florian Flick back in the starting lineup again, because he did fairly well in the last game. Moving over to the home team, I forgot we're on the road in this one. Gersbeck, Gordon, O'Shaughnessy, Gondorf, Vancek, who had a really pretty good game. Choi, the goal scorer, Benjamin Goller, Heisa, Tida, Philip Hoffman, and Breithaupt. Hoffman is the one that obviously is the one who's going to draw our attention, and also Benjamin Goller, but Hoffman more because he's a big guy, can score goals, making his, I think, 200th appearance for Karlsruhe or something crazy like that. But we always seem to we've had trouble with the big guys lately. So that was the first guy that drew interest to me. Thoughts on the Karlsruhe lineup?
We talked, I think, last week about all of the former Schalke players that we'd be coming up against in the next series of fixtures. So, of course, Benjamin Goller being in the starting 11 is never something you want to see. I mean, it is obviously from a curiosity standpoint. It's always nice to check in on these guys. And Goller was a guy who didn't really get much of a run. He never really got started, but he showed a couple flashes here and there. So I'm glad that he's been, carving out a career for himself in the second division. And then, Choi, it wasn't just the goal. I thought Choi was one of their more dangerous players, one of the more classy players on the ball. He was composed, and one of the few people that seemed to be at a comfortable pace with whatever he was doing for most of the match, when a lot of other things were pretty hectic. He played some nice balls in, and just, like I said, just some silky composed stuff with the ball at his feet. So this was unfortunately, though, despite, for the most part, a relatively strong Schalke lineup and a lot of things that you would probably expect from Karlsruhe, was just like, I thought, a shockingly disorganized and sloppy and just sort of like uncomfortably paced game for almost the entire 90 minutes. And wasn't too pretty to watch once it got started.
No. It seems like both teams are struggling. Schalke was having a pretty bad passive percentage. It was like low 70s. Karlsruhe was even worse. A lot of errors going both ways. I mentioned Salif Sane. I thought he had a particularly poor game. I questioned on the watch along whether maybe he has an injury that we don't know about, because he was pretty poor in this game, I thought, in terms of, all the Schalke players. Itakura was pretty decent. Kaminsky was actually fairly decent as well. Flick was okay. But he was very quiet. Obviously, Mikhailov and Idrisi didn't do much. we pressed at times. So did they. We caused turnovers. They caused turnovers. Simon Torre got a 16th goal. Great in the 27th minute. And then you mentioned Choi got a goal in the 33rd or 34th minute, made it 1-1. All the goals in the game, but really frustrating game to watch. Because you're like, what are we doing? And it took forever to make any kind of real substitutions. I just didn't like it overall. I mean, very frustrating, like you said. You eventually saw Danny Latza. I think Latza came on at halftime. Matriciani we saw in the game. Drexler made an appearance. Pieringer as well late. I think Matriciani was okay in his brief appearance. Nothing special, but yeah, it was just a blah game.
Yeah, it's one thing to get a draw, against an opponent like Karlsruhe, but once again, just I felt like neither side for any significant period of time felt like they were in rhythm at all. It was always like, somebody would do a pass and would kind of catch somebody like off or kind of out of step, and then they would be, be a scrum, and it was pretty physical and pretty cagey. And there were some moments in the game, particularly second half, when Karlsruhe started getting some stuff down, the wings, and it opened up a little bit. But the quality of the shot taking, as you're about to see right there, look at that, the shots on target to the actual shots taken, like abhorrent. Like, what is that? And part of that's just bad shot selection. But I mean, you have to be better than that. Like, that's not a excuse me, sorry.
Getting all choked up.
It's not a formula, pardon me. It's not a formula for success at all. I mean, and how many times in this game, Richard, did you see when somebody gets free with the ball, kind of like right at the top of the box? It's always they put their head down and they just lace one from deep, and they try to get that long shot, and no one ever is like, hey, I'm going to take 2 or 3 more touches, kind of try to penetrate centrally and force a defender to make a decision. Yeah, this is what I'm always talking about, is you have maybe one of your teammates in the box with you, actually dive and make a defender commit one way or the other. It's either going to open up for you potentially for a shot, or you might be able to pass your way into, a 1v1 with the keeper. And too often, somebody gets that one free look, and, it wasn't even Salazar this time because he wasn't in the game, but Donny Latza did this and other people did this, and they just start hitting these low percentage shots, and they're not even getting on target. So it's not even I'm going to hit a hard one and get a deflection. Yep. Maybe something gets bounced back out into play, and there's some sort of broken play goal. It's just really poor. And I thought Karlsruhe were, for the most part, much the same. Yeah.
I mean, outside of the goal by Terodde, we had one other shot on target, and that's abysmal for a team that's we played down to Karlsruhe level, as opposed to trying to play like we're fighting for promotion. It was a pretty bad game. It looked, even like you said, when it really shouldn't have. It shouldn't have been based on the statistics of the year, but I mean, you look at it, they had more corners, possessions. We had more because we're trying to get the goals at the end. They had more shots on target. They had more shots in total. It was a hard game to watch, and it was frustrating because every time we got to the final third, ideas were gone. Like you said, we tried to string passes, and fundamental passes you thought would be easy, short passes would be missed. Not passing to the guy where he's, if a guy's running to his right, you pass to his left. You're like, what are you doing? You're throwing the pace off. Bulter tried to go one-on-one, kept getting shut down by the defender, so credit to the defender. Cherlenov, didn't do much, in that regards. Terodde didn't get the service. Midfield was just struggling a lot, and I think that was the real weakness, was the midfield not being able to, capitalize on anything, because Karlsruhe's midfield was terrible. Other than Choi, and he's more of an attacker anyway. I thought Karlsruhe's attack looked better than ours. They were able to create more things. Choi was very fluid. Vanacek was very fluid as well. I thought he had a fairly good game for Karlsruhe. And Hoffman even. Sane was all over him, but he would drop in deep and trying to spring his attackers past him to get open. It was working for them. They did try the direct play a couple of times as well, and we were doing a better job of that. But overall, we're just lacking for ideas, it seems like. And it took forever to, they did get Idrisi and Mikhailov off at the same time. But, I mean, again, like you said, it reeked of grasping for clutching at straws, trying to just see what sticks. And I think, say what you want to say about Salazar, he's going to work his ass off, and he's our best playmaker overall, and have him in there. Maybe he can do something. At least if he shoots from distance, he'll get it on target. Maybe. But yeah, it was just so tough to watch, and from front to back. I don't know if anyone was really a good game. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's once again, it's not that I don't like that central midfield pairing or think that it wasn't justified in potentially seeing it again. It's not that. It's just that, yeah, you just feel like it comes from a place of a lack of conviction. Like you feel like Germantzis is maybe at a point where he just doesn't actually have strong gut feelings about his squad and doesn't know who to trust. And that's maybe not a good place to be in. And maybe I'm reading far too much into that, but yeah. And I think maybe a different way of summing up why this game bothered me so much, because it really did bother me in a weird way. There are certain games where nothing happens and the pace is slow. And there's no intent and no energy. And you just feel like you're kind of watching people like walk around and pass the ball back and forth for 90 minutes. That wasn't this game.
No.
This game had a ton of activity, but all of the activity felt very thoughtless and disjointed. And even though things were happening, you never felt like it was going to, if a goal was going to be scored, you never felt like it was going to be the result of some sort of smartly worked piece of play. It was going to come from like somebody falling down or some deflection or, some sort of BS reason. It was very janky in that kind of way. And I think that's why I was just kind of like, I think once I got like 60 minutes into this one, I was like, I'm tired of watching this. This is just not good football. This is just really poorly executed stuff.
Yeah. And Karlsruhe is, I think, one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the league on set pieces, especially corner kicks. And we didn't take advantage of that whatsoever. We were terrible on the corner kicks. Yeah, it seemed like a pickup game where like nobody knew each other and they were just trying to play and go and wing it and hope they figure each other out. I mean, it just seemed very disjointed, like you said, and it's very frustrating because you saw like the gaps in Karlsruhe defense, and you're like, why aren't you doing it? Go for it. What are you doing?
Yeah, no one was on the same page. There wasn't just
Yes.
like, enough coordinated things, where somebody's making the run at the same time. The guy's looking for the runner and, has the window to pass it. It was, it was poor. But yeah, at least as you mentioned earlier, at least Terada gets his 16th. Continues to be hilarious how much freedom he has in and around the box. Like it's not rocket science. You're going to want to put a body on that guy. I mean, to be fair, I don't think it was a intentional play for him to arrive back post. It ended up being sort of, I think, like an improvised, like flicked on header from Bolter. But once again, the fact that he was in like a 1v1 in space and the back post is still questionable. So pretty funny. And then on the goal that Karlsruhe scored, interesting that Galler was sort of involved in that one. Didn't actually score it, but was a huge contributor. It wasn't. To me, it wasn't a good goal from them either because I forget which player crossed that ball in initially. But before Karlsruhe scored, the ball was on the right-hand side of the pitch, and somebody crossed it into the box.
I want to say Vanacek.
He definitely crossed it for one of the players who was further advanced, and he just mishit it horribly, and it started curling like almost like backwards towards like the top of the box. And whoever picked that up, I forgot, it was Choi, right? I think very smartly.
Yeah,
like, dove and that was a good play from him, but like it wasn't like it was, a well-timed run that was picked out by the crosser. It was just it was a mishit pass that ended up turning into, a mistaken offside, and it was just sort of this, kind of, cluster F of a play, if you will. And it's, I don't know, I'm just going to be ranting at this point if we continue this for much longer. But yeah, even their goal wasn't like an entirely clean sequence. So.
Yeah,
strange, and then nothing in the second half. Yeah, I mean, 1-1 before the 40th minute, and then not a lot of super great opportunities after that. What did you make of Galler overall? Just out of curiosity,
I think it was okay. He had some good opportunities. I think nothing like scary against us, but I thought he was involved. Like you said, he was involved a little bit in that goal that they scored, and he was good appearances by him, I think, and. I'm glad he didn't score against us. But I've seen worse appearances by former Schalke players against us. So, yeah, it was about average, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. So, I mean, I guess the one thing you have to say, which we kind of touched on as well, is just bad time to do that because the three teams ahead of us, St. Pauli, Bremen, all picked up dubs this past weekend, and so fortunately we're not like in free fall or anything yet. We're still in 5th place and one result essentially away from contact with the top 3, but it was yet another missed opportunity. Looking forward, the next game is now against Rostock, who, despite being, pretty poor, have everything to play for at the moment because they're trying to escape that relegation playoff spot. They look to be relatively comfortable from automatic relegation, but they still have a lot to play for to try to escape, that 16th place in the table. Even a team potentially like Dusseldorf or something, which maybe had a little bit less to play for, directly when we went up against them when they were lower, pretty low in the table too. Like, didn't do well against them. So and there's more danger from Hansa Rostock potentially because of that extra motivation. So we'll see. An important game for both teams, and we need a win. We need to start rattling off some consecutive results a little bit better.
Yeah, and we need to get maximum points out of these next 4 games because we're gonna pull things out of our asses for the last 6 games, really. And Ivan Drago's in the house. What's up, Ivan? So I mean, look at the top of the table. Werder, they got a 4-point cushion on us now. I mean, it was 2 points last weekend. We dropped massive points. They got the 3 points. We didn't. Darmstadt got 44. St. Pauli's got 44. Hamburg is still on 41. So we haven't. It's not about the place because we're still in 5th, but we've lost 5 points now with Dusseldorf and Karlsdorf. 5 points. We would be in first place at the moment. And we still got 4 of the teams. Hansa Rostock, they're third to bottom. They're fighting like relegation, like you said, with Sandhausen and Dresden. They're going to be playing tough. They are. And we really got to bring in this game. It's an early game. Well, for us, maybe not so much there. It's a lunchtime game over there in Germany, but we got to bring it. And time of excuses is gone. Gramozzi's had a laundry list of excuses why the team wasn't performing against Karlsruhe. We got to stop and just perform. Period. I personally, I think we're both pro Idrizi. We want to see him in the starting lineup. Mikhailov is good every now and then, but he's not a consecutive game starter. Put in Salazar. If that's all you got right now, Salazar. Put Salazar. He can at least create some things. He's a danger man. If he frees up, he can get a shot off. And when he gets hot, he's hot, and the rest of the team comes with him. And having him Cherlunov in there as well, and maybe Latza bringing in some support might be the way to go.
I know this is kind of a galaxy brain take, but part of me still thinks it'd be really interesting to see Victor Paulsen and Florian Flick on the pitch at the same time. So just do like an Idrizi Flick
double pivot.
I was saying like a Idrizi Flick double, like central pairing with Paulsen in sort of the 6, which I know is not the typical role for Flick, but like I said, I feel like he's demonstrated a couple times that he is rangy enough to maybe pull that off. And can do some work, in pressing and everything. So I don't know. I think I'd maybe potentially like to see it, but not necessary. We can still keep, like you said, just put Salazar back in. We're not in a position where we need to be searching for answers, maybe to the extent that we sometimes are, I feel like, with him. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Ivan had a question about how many teams go into the playoffs. So correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, but top 2 spots get automatic promotion. Mm-hmm. The third place team plays the third to last place team in the Bundesliga, and they have a playoff. Winner of that match goes to the Bundesliga. Loser obviously comes to the Zweite Liga. There's no playoffs like in Serie B in Italy or some of these other leagues where they have big playoffs and stuff in the second division, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, correct. So the English Championship, for example, has top 2 automatic promotion, but then 3 through I think 6 are in like a 4-team, playoff with multiple rounds and that kind of a thing. Yeah. So in this situation, it would be the top 2 get automatic promotion. Third place has a 1-game playoff with 16th in the Bundesliga to determine whether or not they swap divisions or they stay put for another year. Obviously, that's not the position we want to be in. We want to secure first place or second place preferably, but we haven't taken advantage of some of these that we should have. And the thing that's disappointing about it is that the teams ahead of us, as they've been slipping up as well. It's not like they've been punishing us every time. We often haven't been slipping up the same week. It's like happening on alternating weeks, but it's not as if like every time we're doing this we're necessarily getting punished. We're still pretty close contact with the top of the table. We just need to start getting some consistency. And like I said, chain a couple results together. We can't have a loss to a bottom table team and then a win and then a draw to a mid. You know what I mean? Like we have to get a couple wins in a row and try to get some kind of clearance. But we'll see. I'm not optimistic for it at the moment because it's kind of what we've been doing for most of the year. We're a good team this year by second division standards. Are we a promotion team? and that's kind of what it's been. So
consistency wise, no, right? But
Yeah.
and as Maceo says, it is a home and away game for that playoff game. So there is that. So let's see what happens right here. Currently, Greuther Fürth is relegation spot. Stuttgart is as well. The next two teams are Hertha, Augsburg, and even Arminia Bielefeld. I don't like our chances against either of those teams, honestly. They're all underperforming. Augsburg, Arminia, they're always been at the bottom of the table, it seems like. Hertha, though, is very massively underperforming. I wouldn't want to play any of them. We need a top 2 spot, period.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it doesn't matter who you would be playing in that situation, really. I mean, the bottom line is you would obviously rather get automatic promotion than have to be in that situation in the first place. For the sake of Ava from our friends at the Bundesliga 2 podcast, I hope it's not Arminia Bielefeld, but I'd much rather be like Hertha or something, just because I think that'd be funnier. But big city club, baby, with all that money.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it's not going to come kind of piecemeal, which is the way we're trying to do it at the moment. It needs to come all together, pretty quick and consecutive. Yeah.
Werder Bremen's playing the best football in the Zweite Liga at the moment. They got 4 wins in the draw of the last 5, and I think probably 5 of the last 6. Darmstadt, St. Pauli, Hamburg, us, and even Nuremberg to an extent, we're all playing similar football. 1 loss, couple draws, couple wins in the last 5-6 games. So this is begging for somebody to go on a run of wins, and we are in a good position where we're playing teams below us in the table where we should take advantage of that. And if we get we get 4 wins in a row, we're in a good spot going into the games against Werder, Darmstadt, St. Pauli, Nuremberg. So yeah, let's see what happens on Saturday. I'm curious what the lineups are going to be. Obviously, mood is still very tense over the Gazprom thing and not knowing who the sponsor is going to be, but we need a reaction, and one of that reaction should be Mikhailov is nice, have him on the bench, but Salazar needs to start or somebody else. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I will say that I have enjoyed Flick though, being in the starting lineup in that 6th position. I think this past game was a little bit worse of an example just because of, once again, how disorganized that game was in general, I thought. But even then, he had a couple moments that I thought were standout moments on the ball where he just looked a little bit more composed, made a good decision, made a nice dish in rhythm, kind of a thing. And I noticed maybe I was paying more attention to him than I should have, just because obviously I'm a fan of his. But I thought he was still okay in this one. So he's been performing admirably in these last couple of opportunities.
Yeah, and I think we're good either way with Flick or Paulson back there, and then Latza coming in as a cameo in the midfield there. But yeah, let's see. Idrissi needs to do better in his games as well. I thought he's been a little quiet here the last couple of games, especially this last game. So we'll see. Some other bit of news. A couple weeks ago, we talked about our old friend Nassim Boujilab.
Ah, yes.
He got his contract terminated with whoever the hell he was with. Came back to us. Team already came out and said, you're not going to play with us this season. You're going to play with the junior team. Well, he's no longer with us this season. He joins Helsinki for the remainder of the year. So he's going on loan for the remainder of the year in Finland. And so, yeah, Auf Wiedersehen for a little bit, I guess, for another 6 months or so. But hopefully for his sake, he gets better and finds a place to play. But it just wasn't going to work out. Never, we had hopes for him. But
was he at Ingolstadt, right? That's correct, right?
Yes, Ingolstadt.
And so like that just makes it even worse because Ingolstadt is currently in last place in the 2nd division. And you have a player that can't get game time for the worst team in the division. You think if he was going to be able to get some consistent minutes anywhere, potentially it'd be a team like that's really struggling and presumably looking for answers somewhere. But obviously there were some discipline issues or some issues with him that really put him on the outs and caused this thing to be terminated prematurely. But I'm glad that he's not wasting away sort of in the Schalke reserve team purgatory and potentially has an opportunity to go elsewhere, even if it is a club like Helsinki, and get some actual like meaningful in-game minutes. So we will see.
It would help if I could turn my mute button off. Interesting comment here from Maseo Seki. He says, speaking of Gazprom, how about we make a SchalkeMerica patch to cover the sponsor logo and maybe profit goes to help Ukraine? Hey, that's not a bad idea. If anyone would buy it.
I mean, generally the idea of a kit sponsor is that it has brand recognition, and so I don't know if SchalkeMerica is the best option there.
We're just trying to get noticed in Germany, and I mean, let alone
yeah.
America. So hey, it could sell like hotcakes. You don't know.
But speaking about profit to help Ukraine or some sort of good cause, we have some stuff going on in the background right now that we may be able to announce in the near future about doing some charity stuff. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, the Schalke community is tight, and it's always all of us try to do good for the community and see ways we can help. And so we'll see. Yeah, keep an eye out, and maybe we'll get some. You hear some nice things on the horizon. So we'll see what's going to happen here in the background here. Anything else? I mean, the boys look like they're excited for the game. They're ready, especially Darko Cherlinov there with the pose. But yeah, anything else you got for this one?
No, I'm sorry. I'm just distracted by this photo now. And how serious Salazar is looking. This is blue steel over there on the right side.
Yeah,
very Zoolander of him. No, I got nothing else. Yeah, I've rambled about how much I hated this game enough. Here's to a better game on the horizon against presumably a worse opponent. So let's get it done. Let's take advantage of the slip ups that the teams ahead of us have been doing. As you mentioned, São Paulo looking decidedly Schalke-like. In terms of some of their more recent run of games. Let's be the one. Why not us? As I repeatedly say, I believe we have the squad. I do. So
yeah,
let's find a way to make it happen, please, for the love of God.
Amen. I got nothing else to contribute. Salazar is doing okay. He's streaky. Sometimes really good, sometimes not as much. But he's one of the hardest workers on the team, so I'll give him that. Not quite Oyan level, but he's doing decent. But I'd like to see more starts by him. All right. On that note, we're going to wrap this one up. Lots of stuff to go that we went through. Lots of stuff internationally going on. So it obviously affects the club. And so we got a game here on Saturday morning early, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6:30 a.m. your time, Jack. We will be doing a watch along. So
maybe I'll try to join you for this one. We'll see how I feel.
Yeah,
I missed the last couple ones. I've been lazy. I didn't want to wake up that early.
So the good news has been the last couple of games have been on ESPN Plus, which has been great. Hopefully this game gets picked up by ESPN Plus too. But if not, either way, we'll be there to help bring some of the commentary so you can join along in some of the misery and some of the jubilation. Hopefully more of the latter. But yeah, from Jack, I'm not going to say your handle. Where can people find you on social media?
At JMMangan, JMMangan on Twitter.
I can barely say my own, so thank you. You can always follow me at R_KHARMAN. For Jack, I'm Richard. For Schalke, Glück auf.